Welcome to round 3 of Formula Rally and the Welsh Rally. As you can see, the weather is just atrocious. It's been raining for nearly 24 hours, and standing next to me, Justin Dale, the man who's come second on 2 occasions. You haven't even seen the stages yet.
Absolutely no idea what the stages are like. We're going to get one short run through, and even then we're not actually going to do all of the route. So first stage, I think, is going to be a bit of caution in the back of my mind, for sure.
Well, plenty of anticipation right here. 75 miles, 12 stages, plenty of action.
Round 3 of Formula Rally was a very different animal to the rallies at Wirral and Silverstone. Much tougher, much longer. And the stages at Cowent, just west of the Severn Bridge, were creating plenty of anxiety amongst the drivers, especially for the man who'd be first off, championship leader Martin Rowe.
Yeah, they're very, very tricky. I mean, the stages are very narrow, lots of curbs, so we've got to be neat and tidy, but also it's absolutely lashing with rain there, so there's lots of standing water in places. So with these cars on, even on wet tyres, the car hits the water and just aquaplanes, and when it's aquaplaning and you can't brake, you can't turn the car at all, so it's going to be very difficult.
Yet it was not the conditions or the stages that beat a disappointed Neil Simpson.
Absolutely devastated not to be competing this weekend, but we've done a test session the other day with the new Volkswagen Polo GTI, and we've encountered an engine problem that the team's not entirely happy with, so we've taken the decision as a team to withdraw from the event. I don't know how the championship's going to end up. It'll depend on how people perform, but yeah, it is pretty desperate, but I think we'll be there on the Scottish with a competitive package.
If the pre-start conditions were awful, they got worse. And as championship leaders Martin Rowe and Chris Wood headed tentatively out onto a stage where no one knew what to expect, there was a feeling amongst the teams that this one could get brutal. Their intuition was right. The Puma pair were playing it safe.
Right 7, don't cut. Into right 6, tightens to left 7. 60, caution, right 7, left 7, past wall, and long left 3. Into care, right 6, tightens to sudden left 9.
Rowe and Wood were driving cautiously, too cautiously. Back to 12th after 2 stages. Rowe rarely opens the gates to give others a chance. He had, and this was the man out to grab the opportunity with both hands. Justin Dale and Andrew Bargery were tired of finishing second. The Works Peugeot pair had talked of rocking up in Wales with their all-new 206. That trick remains up their sleeve. But in tried and tested hardware, they were pushing hard. Exceptionally so, as every twist and every turn was a voyage of discovery. Anxious moments for the co-driver.
What's that, a square left, that one?
Yeah, square left, square right, into right 4, and left 3.
There's another square
Yeah. Left 3, into right 4, and left 3.
After 4 stages, this pair were lying third.
100, right 3, and grid.
The Works Proton of Mats Anderson and Claire Mole has had a solid season, not a spectacular one. But the Swedish driver was looking forward to Wales and driving well. There was little apprehension about his first drive, finishing just behind Dale in 3rd fastest time. And in a day where consistency would bring rewards, they stayed fast. 5th after 4 stages, always looking like they had potential for more. Could this be Proton heading for the podium? The podium's been dominated by Ford this year, but if the Pumas were going to dominate it again, perhaps it would be a case of role reversal for the Works drivers. Whilst Rowe wrestled with it all, Magot was having fun in the rain, on stages that suited his game and his experience. Up to 2nd overall after 4 stages. Martin Sansom and Phil Wells drive a similar machine to Justin Dale and drive it just as hard. In the first round at Wirral, they finished 1st privateer. And they come to Wales looking for a repeat performance. 4th after 4 stages indicated they may get it. In the near-identical Citroën Saxo, the usually fast Max McKillen was struggling to get inside the top 20 after 4 stages. Driving fast down unknown stages with a misty windscreen is a risky business.
Stay middle over crest, bumps in the turn, square left. Square left. Easy, Max, easy, steady up.
I can't see at the screen.
Stalling the car, nothing compared to what was heading McKillen's way a little later on. If you're looking for big names in the future, remember this one, Paul Wedgbury. He delivered a fast first stage, finished 7th. But there was plenty more to give, so he did. With the podium favourites checking out each other, Wedgbury and Dashfield were making their saxos sing in the rain. Surprising but sure-footed event leaders after 4 stages. Michael Brew and Brishy Christian had also got them talking in the service area, despite the odd moment. Nobody told them they're fighting it out in the one-make Super 106 Cup. After the first stage, they were ahead of all the Super 1600s and led the event. And they stayed near the pace, if not always on the track. Sometimes missing a corner, crashing a curb, on just one stage can be all it takes to tumble down the leaderboard. At the Welsh Rally, pretty much everyone was getting caught out. Foggy windscreens, long straights, lots of water, tight corners. They were proving to be a kamikaze cocktail for the Peugeot 106s. Barry Myers and Richard Edwards, shaken but not stirred. Chris Meek and Gordon Noble were another punchy Peugeot team delivering the goods early on. And they got to know more about Welsh soil than they planned.
Small crest, braking 80, turn open 5 left. Repeat, turn open 5 left. You all right? Start her up again.
If there was a Formula Rally Composure Award, they'd be fighting for it.
Turn open 5 left here. 400. Keep left for turn long open square right.
But whilst inside the car was back to normal, outside was far from it. As they delivered their job list back to the service area, a despondent Meek, disappointed with his speed round the track, was told off for his speed through the service area. Not a good half an hour.
Second stage, one of the big long straights, but a 450 and the notes are 400 or something. We're up into 5th gear. Well, I seen the corner away in the distance, and I knew myself I had to brake early. Went on the brakes early, touched the brakes, and the car just flew. Went quicker and quicker and quicker. It's very disappointing so early on. I knew I had to just drive the first 2 stages to get a feel of the place, but I didn't expect that. But that's rallying, and I think we've lost over a minute, but no, we'll be back fighting on the next stage, so we'll see what we can do.
Whilst Meek was crystal clear about the cause of his problems, Martin Rowe was looking for answers. Misty windows still a major issue.
Basically, the first 2 stages I was going very cautiously. I had a visibility problem. I couldn't really see on left-handers tighter than like a 60-degree bend, so I was going really slowly because there's lots of curves to hit. So that time just pushed a little bit harder. The car was a little bit better, so a little bit more happy, but it's not, you know, fun driving in these conditions.
In the top Peugeots, things were still going to plan, and there was every prospect that the manufacturer's trophy could be heading their way.
It was terrible, the rain. I think it's more suited to a duck, I think, rather than a rally car today. But no, you just got to pick your way through and pick the best line. Sometimes it's not actually the right line, but just keep out of the way of all the puddles. Some of the corners we're actually making tighter, just so we can get the braking done on a clean surface.
After 4 stages, though, things looking pretty good, but not completely simple.
The first 3 was fine, then going into that stage 4, coming into one tight junction, we just overshot. So we had to spin it around and come back down the verge to go back round the corner. But 15 seconds lost, but it's not the end of the world at the moment.
Smiles from Peugeot, but Sansom and Dale were expected to be fighting for the prizes. The man of the moment was Paul Wedgbury. There was quiet concentration masking the excitement around the blue Citroën Saxo.
I think at the moment we are ahead of Martin Rowe and Justin Dale. We haven't seen the stage times for the last stage, but I would say things are looking like we may well be in front of them, so it's very encouraging at the moment.
Wedgbury was leading, but still had 8 stages to beat the odds and stay there.
Welcome back to the Welsh Rally, and things have been pretty exciting here. A lot of the favourites struggling to stay on the course, which gives some of the others a chance to either podium.
And whilst nobody would be surprised if the Works Proton team made the podium, they have not managed it yet in Formula Rally. But there was a buzz in the Proton camp. Anderson was driving fast in the wet, but looking for even more grip, and anxious to get back out there on the stage. His body language indicated he was up for this, and he was. But rallying is a team game, and if Anderson was fired up, so was co-driver Claire Mole.
Right, it's a hairpin left. Square right 40. Square left turn, square left 300.
This team were fast and, importantly, were staying out of trouble, something fewer and fewer teams were managing.
Treble caution, K right.
Anderson was first to see that Patrick Mago's day was going badly wrong. And as the Works Proton passed the Works Puma, Anderson's day was getting better, by stage 9 up to 3rd. Mago was stuck in first gear. It cost him around 5 minutes on the 8th stage. In championship terms, the costs may be much higher. The Frenchman had been looking so good. He disconnected his anti-roll bar, raised the ground clearance on his car to great effect. But as he limped home, the Welsh Rally was proving tough for the Ford Works team. And whilst the service area crew put things right in time for the next stage, Mago and Brun knew this one was effectively over. In the other Works Puma, Martin Rowe and Chris Wood were on a recovery programme, and it was working. They were getting quicker, although it took until the 9th stage before they delivered a top 3 time.
50 to turn left 9.
They missed him.
Left 9. 40. Bit scary.
And in the second half of the rally, few others managed that, including top teams like Martin Meadows and Ian Oakey, who, like so many, found that innocuous skids were punished hard. Other moments were less brutal on the car, but just as time-consuming. Guy Wilkes and Clive Jenkins were not planning a 3-point turn. But with conditions relentlessly difficult and most drivers spinning, the trick was to keep the car together and not get fazed by the odd misjudgment. Ian Barrett scored a credible 10th fastest time on the 10th stage. Max McKillen was not enjoying his day, but things were about to get much worse.
Small crest, 8 in, turn open square left. Flat over the crest, turn open square left. Oh,
After a violent crash, McKillen was taken to hospital, but soon released. Co-driver Paul Nagel unhurt. The Saxo had done a good job of protecting them both. But one of the prettiest cars in the rally had been battered. Martin Sansom and Phil Wells had driven a brilliant first half of the rally, then improved. And they started the 9th stage, lying 3rd, looking good for a podium position. But they made just one mistake. And like so many others, paid a heavy penalty. Another bruised car, another day over.
Well, the Welsh Rally is catching out a lot of very competent drivers, and Martin Sampson, things were looking pretty good for you today until...
Yeah, it wasn't going too bad. We were up to 3rd and sort of closing in a little bit. And then we had a bit of an off.
What happened? Because the damage looks substantial.
Yeah, there was a telegraph pole that was already fallen over and we landed on top of that, so we'll have a look when we're back at home.
There were cars without a dented panel. Justin Dale and Andrew Bargery were delivering quick times, always inside the top 5. But whilst they fought for the lead, the retirements behind them was bringing their great rivals, Martin Rowe and Chris Wood, right back into the rally.
Back on, yeah.
This team, though, was sounding confident. A very different atmosphere on board to that of the first nervous stage. But But there was one car still ahead of Dale after 7 stages. In the blue Saxo, Paul Wedgbury was leading. Man of the moment, just 5 stages away from being man of the day. But that relied on nothing going wrong. And things did go wrong. There were more dramatic retirements, but few crueler. A damaged diff, the end of Paul Wedgbury's day. But he had made his point well. As the wheels came off Wedgbury's day, a wheel came off Mark Wheeler and Roger Heron's Puma after a smash that matched McKillen's for drama. Impressive ingenuity to get the remains of this Puma back to the team without a recovery vehicle. The event was becoming a rally of attrition, with the Welsh stages eating up cars and spitting out the debris, setting full agendas for service teams ahead of the next round in Scotland. Despite the tarmac drying out, there was a period in the afternoon where the Pumas went wild. Sean Woffington and Martin Carter, fortunate to slide into fresh air and not a curb. In the bright green Peugeot 106, Ryan Champion and Cliff Simmons started well, faded around the midway stage, then started to march up the leaderboard.
Brakes are gone.
All right, left 9 year.
Co-driver Cliff Simmons did not seem fazed when the man with the wheel told him the brakes were going. Then drove into a curb, hard.
Right, left 9 year.
Despite a gentle reminder they had no brakes, Simmons kept calling the shots.
Oh, you it's gonna hurt.
Until a brick wall stopped him, stopped the Peugeot, and surprised the photographer. With just 2 stages to go, Mats Anderson and Claire Mole were up to second. On board, it was intense. This team so hungry for success.
Turn hairpin left, 80. Keep off the curbs, man.
Mole warning of curbs.
80.
Anderson hitting them. Plenty of tension.
Turn K right, don't cut. 250, over small crest.
But it was working. The Proton was flying until it went wrong.
50. Turn square left, 130 through junction.
Right shot.
Neither wonder. Open square right, 40. Open square left, keep in. Do not put this off, mind. To fast medium left, 60.
Something wrong with the steering.
Just get through the stage to turn square left over gravel, 80. Caution, square right. Square left, square left.
With hazard warning lights on, a puff of smoke from the near side tyre, and things are going badly wrong.
Turn square right.
Terminally wrong.
200. Is that it? There?
That's it.
10/12 of the way to a top 3 position. They go home with nothing. And it hurts. The Formula Rally format also sees other one-make events battling it out for honours. In the Ford KA, Darren Snape and Anthony Adams have already won 2 events this year. They were equally convincing on the Welsh Rally, winning easily. In the Polos, Adrian Kermode scored his best ever finish, 1 minute ahead of James Smith in 3rd. David Bateson won emphatically after rival Clive Wheeler had a puncture and hit a curb in the closing stages. The win for Bateson regained him the overall lead in the Polo Challenge. In the Super 106 Cup, Chris Moore and Andrew Dugdale were mixing it with the Super 1600s, driving fast between the incidents. And they had plenty of incidents.
60, care, very tight, square right.
But if they thought they could finish the rally with their car relatively intact, they were being rather optimistic. They did finish the rally, 9th overall and 5th Peugeot 106. Gary Jennings and Martin McGarrity were 5th fastest on the first stage, never dropped lower than 11th, and finished an impressive 5th overall. They must have been disappointed not to be first in the Super 106 Cup. This, though, was Michael Brew and Brishy Christian's day. After that Stage 1 fastest time, they continued to excel, despite having a Stage 4 puncher. In the end, only 22 seconds separated them from the podium for the overall awards. After the opening stage, David Henderson and Ian Windruss were lined 19th in their 1400 Puma. By Stage 3 up to 15th, by Stage 5 up to 10th, and they kept climbing and climbing. They finished 3rd overall, easy winners in the Puma 1400 and one of the drives of the day. The championship leaders did not revel in the Welsh rally, but they did better than their early performances indicated they would.
3 and right 6, 350.
As others tumbled, Rowe and Wood clawed back.
Open right 7 over gravel, 100.
They did their championship chances little harm and finished 2nd overall. Justin Dale would have felt more comfortable if Rowe had been further back. But the Welsh rally was a big day for the Peugeot works team, and as they could taste the champagne heading their way, the spirit on board was upbeat and confident.
30, turn hairpin left drive. Hold on. Hairpin left drive. 50. Right 6 curb.
The final drive was measured, conservative. The only pressure was staying out of trouble.
Right, 200. I'm still not sure where the don't cut is here, but square right and square left. Don't cut the square left. This one. Right, square left, don't cut. Yep. 40. The right 7 long into turn square left. High speed recce. 100, turn square right.
Dale and Bargery were about to win their first ever rally, and they were enjoying the moment.
And the finish is left 3. Yes! Yes! Well done, mate. Nice one, mate. Excellent.
Gritty performances from those Peugeots in 4th and 5th. A drive to remember for David Henderson, but for Justin Dale, a day to remember.
Sort of one of them feelings that just sort of gets you. But no, we've never won a rally before, and to win the class normally last year and then this overall, it's just brilliant.
And that victory closes the gap. It's really looking like a head-to-head between Rowe and Dale for the championship. Well, he'd been so close before, but a first time on top of the podium for Justin Dale and the Peugeot. So valuable points in the manufacturer's trophy for Peugeot, but Ford pulled back well during the day. The Welsh rally, though, belongs to Justin Dale and Andrew Bargery. Can they repeat this performance in the next round in Scotland?
Ford goes global next to catch the finest in action in Trans World Sport.
Over finish. Stop.